feeling sad for myself. Did a name all 151 original Pokemon. I got like 103. I'm a terrible 90s kid. I'm sorry. Hello, my literary luminaries, and welcome back to Top 5 Thursday. This is an interesting topic for me, not because it was hard to come up with necessarily, but because I'm good at avoiding spoilers, I guess. This week's Top 5 Thursdays, you can tell by the title bar, is books you were spoiled for. And I don't have that many. So, we'll see how it goes and we'll jump right in. Number 1. The first one I came up with is kind of a yes and no because I intentionally did it, sort of, and that's A Song of Ice and Fire. Or, the Game of Thrones books. I wasn't so much spoiled for it, but that I just knew pieces were coming. I didn't care necessarily. I think that's really the problem with this, is that I don't care if things get spoiled particularly, but I knew some of the deaths. I started reading after the TV show came out, so, Sean Bean. And I asked people while I was reading, does so-and-so die, does so-and-so die? Because I've always said that a spoiler in A Song of Ice and Fire is if a character lives. I just assume everyone's going to die. So, I guess you could say that I was spoiled for Game of Thrones, but I did it intentionally. Does that count? Number 2. The second one, actually the book spoiled me. And the then friend of mine that made me read the books in the first place got really angry about it. And that's the Dragonlance Chronicles. Now, when I bought the Dragonlance Chronicles, I got a big book. Actually, I can go get it and show you. Right, so when I got Dragonlance Chronicles, I got a big-ass book with all the stuff in it, and it was annotated. And I was like, oh, cool, I can get, useful trivia or something. Well, the annotations assume that you've already read the series, so I got spoiled for the identity of a major character way too early. And I said something about it to the person who wanted me to read them. And she goes, how far in the books are you? And I say, however far, and she goes, you're not supposed to know that yet. I was like, oh, it was in the annotations. She got so mad that the annotations had spoiled it for me. Again, I didn't mind, but that's really the biggest, spoiler of a book that I've ever come across. Because I just read the annotation and was like, oh, was I supposed to have picked that up? I totally missed that. Wow. And then, of course, come to find out, I shouldn't have figured that out for, a book and a half more or some such. So, whoops. Number 3. Number 3 is one simply because I read the book significantly after the book came out, and that's Don Quixote. And I knew the story of Don Quixote way before I read the book. I mean, I saw the musical, I know Man of La Mancha, I know the basic premise of it, and so reading the book, it wasn't so much that it was spoiled for me, but it was simply, reading the book of a story I already knew. It's kind of like saying a fairy tale was spoiled for you. Everyone knows the story. I just read the original context of it. So, I guess you can say it was spoiled for me, but I don't know. That's a bit of a hit or miss on whether or not you agree that it was spoiled. Number 4. Number 4 is another sort of question mark, and that's A Clockwork Orange. It was really more that between the book and the movie, it was all sort of spoiled because everyone was like, you have to watch the movie. It's the most, weird and horrifying thing you'll ever watch. And it wasn't. And I read the book, and the book was more sort of dramatic, but I think a lot of the horror and uncomfortableness that comes with Clockwork Orange in the book is detracted from because of the language barrier, because you're spending so much time figuring out what Alex is saying in the Nadsat that you lose some of it. And so I knew that it was supposed to be really weird and creepy and uncomfortable, and when I actually came across it, it sort of spoiled it for me because I didn't think it was as much. So Take what you want of that. I consider it being spoiled. Maybe you don't. I don't know. And number 5. Number 5 is one that I was actually really angry about because I knew how it ended, because the last sentence of this book is really well known. But that's 1984 by George Orwell. Because the last sentence of 1984 is a relatively well known, like everyone knows how the book ends. Well, maybe not everyone, but it's not hidden necessarily, because, the book came out forever ago. And so I knew how it ended, and I was really hoping I would like how it got there better. And I didn't. I was really angry about the end of that book, and it all just sort of went bleh for me. Because, I knew it was coming, and it was still like, I was very sad. So I'm going to consider that my spoiled book, in that I knew the ending, and the ending spoiled the book for me. That's a whole bunch of spoiling. So, those are my top 5 books that got spoiled for me. What are some of yours? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Again, don't actually post the spoilers, necessarily, I guess, because I tried to keep these as spoiler-free as possible. But don't actually spoil any books in the comments, but just let me know what some of the books were, and maybe some generics like, oh, I found out a thing. And we'll see where we go from there. But until next time, I will see you again on Tuesday. Bye! I have to make sure that's the right author. I'm going to be really mad at myself if I say that and it's wrong. Yes, excellent. Yes, 1984 is the correct. Okay.